right.
Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger. I'm a threat. I'm a gamble with your life, cause you know that it's okay. It's okay. You know I ain't letting up, my foot is on your neck. Take my word for it, it's a promise and a threat. Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger.
African Americans in communities where I've worked, there's been notion of acting white, which sometimes is overstated, but there's an element of truth to it where, okay, if boys are reading too much, then, well, why are you doing that? Or why are you speaking so properly? And the notion that there's some authentic way of being black, that if you're going to be black, you have to act a certain way and wear a certain kind of clothes, that has to go, because there are a whole bunch of different ways for African American men to be authentic.
The initial idea came from me when I think Sav sent me an interview with a Cash Me Outside chick, and she was on a radio station and she was basically responding to people accusing her of being or acting black. Okay, then that brought me to think like, wait, whenever you see a black dude well-spoken or articulating himself well or speaking in language that's actually in a dictionary and shit, they're labeled as acting white. And the reason why to me it's like it needs to be addressed, because it becomes a problem when the only things that are synonymous with acting black are like fucking negative shit, where everything that's synonymous with being white is fucking positive, like having money, being well-spoken, having an education, do you know what I'm saying, actually wearing your clothes properly. And I'm like, yo, we need to fucking stop this shit.
I think it's regressive in the community that I somewhat pertain to, because obviously being black, I'm relatively young in this country, this shit applies to me. So it just bugs me and it irritates me when I see, especially other black folks, talking down on other black folks for being smart. And I hate how somehow, I don't know how, intelligence is looked down upon, when to me it should be something that's revered and seen in high spirits. So I wanted to address that, so we start looking at this whole thing differently. So kids in school aren't being mocked for being smart, or aren't being told they're not black enough because they're smart, or because they can read, or they're not behaving a certain way. Like being black is like a one-dimensional thing. I see that it really bugs me, that whole fucking notion. So I wanted to like bring it up and then somewhat address it and see what other people thought and shit.
When you're black, you have to deal with so much crap in your life from other black people. It's a dirty, dark secret. I'm glad it's coming out. For some reason, we are brainwashed to think if you're not a thug or an idiot, you're not black enough. If you go to school, make good grades, speak intelligent, and don't break the law, you're not a good black person. And it's a dirty, dark secret, Anthony. Listen, I hate...
Science experiment, Graham, when I speak at schools. Like, let's say I'm at a white school. I said, how many of you kids want to play pro sports? Less than 10% raised their hand. I said, what do you want to do? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an engineer. But when I go speak at predominantly black schools, 90% of the kids want to play sports. 90%. There's a couple like, I want to be a doctor, which makes me really proud. But 90% of kids, when I speak at black schools, our kids are brainwashed to think they can only play sports and be entertainers. You got a better chance of being a doctor and a lawyer than playing in the NBA. I tell you, that's 400 players in the NBA. What are the chances you're going to be one of the 400 best players in the world? That's, like I say,
how acting white is not a thing. I want people to stop saying that and generalizing it as if you talk more clear, pronounce your words, you're white. If you act a certain way, you're white. That's false, and we need to stop that perception of black people. There is no such thing as acting white or talking white, and I just want to say that now because a lot of people have the perception that if you pronounce your word all the way, if you speak a certain way, if you use certain words, you talk white. If you don't dress a certain way, wear a certain brand, if you don't act a certain way, if you're not from a certain area, then you're acting white. People that have different hobbies like soccer or drawing or something like that, like I'm talking about like drawing anime or something different, those people oftentimes are thrown in the category of acting white. I was told when I was growing up that I talked white, I spoke white. I never knew what that meant, but I did as soon as I hit about 2nd or 3rd grade. everybody else around me spoke differently. They use slang or whatever it is. Like, that does not make somebody white. I am brown, I'm black, I'm a black man, and that does not differentiate me or anybody else that speaks not the same as you or speaks differently. Like, my thing is, you cannot tell somebody they act a certain way when that's just how they act. Like, there's no certain color of how to act. If you speak clear, you're white, that makes no sense. So everybody's supposed to speak with slang, with an accent, not pronounce their words all the way. That's not for everybody. Also, if you skate instead of hoop, you're a white boy. Like, where did that come from? I've never seen a race so bent on trying to tell a kid, this happens when people are kids, tell children what not to do, to not be teased, not be called another color, another race. And it is offensive. I'm a black man, I like being black, I've always liked being black. It's offensive to me to be called a white boy, or when I was growing up, oh, you speak differently. I speak differently, I speak correct. That does not make me white. People have different mindsets, people have different interests. You cannot continue to categorize people and honestly downplay, talk down, bully people because they act differently than you. There's a lot of people I knew growing up that skated. I never called them white boys. There's a lot of people I knew that hooped. Never called them niggas. If you're black, you're black. You're gonna act how you act. People need to stop acting like you have to act a certain way to be accepted. That's false. That perception needs to stop.
Heard growing up, even when people just think it's a joke. The words, "you act white." What does that even mean? And what are the implications when someone says that? Victoria De Leon takes a look.
Whether it's the way we dress, the way we talk, or even the hobbies we take up, impressions can be made within seconds. For some, making a good impression doesn't always lead to a good experience.
But it wasn't really until high school that I started getting labeled as a white black man, because I spoke, proper English. I did well in school.
Instead, it leads to the phrase, "you act white."
It's frustrating that even in my daughter's generation, she's 19 now, several people called her the whitest black girl they know. She's like, because she talks proper, or because she skis, or because she snowboards. And they called her Oreo cookie, black on the outside, white on the inside.
Sometimes it's said in a playful manner, but that doesn't diminish the racist sentiments behind it.
I find it strange that we correlate academia, intelligence with whiteness.
Miranda and Eloisa are two college seniors, both proud of their Chicana culture. They've been accused of acting white for simply doing well in school.
He's like, oh, she went to a good school in Aurora, and just where I was located growing up. That's why they classify whitewashed.
It's such a persistent myth, this idea that our communities don't value education, but that phenomenon isn't specific to a given culture or community, and again is really reflective of the inequities that we see in school practices.
A 2019 study deconstructed the acting white phenomenon in Black and Latino college students. This is another in a long list of studies that dispels the idea that Black and Latino students don't do well in school out of fear of being accused by their own peers that they were acting white.
So what this study is now saying that we need to dig back into this. We need to figure out what our culture actually is. We need to figure out what is acting white and why so many students are being attacked in this way.
Even in a playful manner, there's a sting that comes with being accused of not connecting with your own culture.
Well, I mean, you're messing with someone's identity, right?
And accusing someone of acting white sets up an ideal that shouldn't exist.
And if we continue to look at ideals as something that we should all be, we will continue to devalue anyone that slightly differs from what that ideal is.
Because I'm white, FYI, in case you didn't know. Being a white woman, I would never say to a black person that you're acting white. So for me, I obviously hear people say it in my circle, my echo chamber of political people. It would be because of something they, debating that grime is colorblind. They would be like, oh, you're acting white, or that kind of thing, as opposed to these days, for me, it's so wildly insulting to say to a black person that it's even insulting to say you're articulate, because that's just Like, you know, it's the act of surprise. It's like, are you really?
The double-ended sword with that is if you tell a white person they're acting black, again, it's actually only offensive to black people.
Yeah, but of course.
It's not offensive to that white person. Well, because what you're actually saying is those characteristics. Because I've had it before. Oh, you talk black.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean I talk? Well, I just didn't go to school. So what? Does that mean that that's black? Because I don't talk eloquently because I didn't. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't offend me.
No,
it's offensive to black people to assume that that characteristic
of course it is. People still today are equating whiteness with being able to articulate yourself. Like, for me, that is like, are we really at the stage when we've had Trevor McDonald giving us our news? Yeah, for me, again, it's kind of that reminder of how, you know, present racism still is, and how and that kind of racism and the bias is there.
I guess it's terminology that's used to kind of somewhat, I guess, package a stereotype.
Yeah.
But I'm saying even within that breadth, it still kind of needs to be readdressed. And I think we need to use something different because it actually has, in my opinion, some fucking insidious effects.
Where do you draw the line in saying that someone is acting white, and then saying someone is actually, a black person is perpetuating the ideology of white supremacy? Because in that instance, maybe there is validity in saying the person is acting white. I think it's very, very obvious that the concept of acting black contains negative connotations. And I think so whether you're telling a black person that they're acting white, or you're telling a white person that they're acting black, it always holds the same connotation of negative or ill-educated or, you know, like unsavory or unsociable, is always attached to being black, and the idea of acting white is always attached to success and highly educated. And I think the only time that doesn't apply is in the concept of if somebody is essentially adhering to white supremacist ideas, then I can understand why they might be referred to as acting white, so to speak, if the ideology that you're trying to achieve is rooted in this idea of, you know, a white supremacist kind of ideology.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue it's arguable that a lot of mainstream rappers, if we're going to take Snips's definition, is acting white in the sense of, you know, they sit very closely with the establishment. They very much echo the sentiments that white supremacy would like to project out there to the world. They very much have a lot of ingrained, whether it be misogyny or inherent racism even, sometimes when they're talking about red bone bitches, you know, as a preference over dark skinned bitches, when rappers are saying that, you know, I'm not ever having dark skinned children again. CC Lil Wayne, you know, you could say Lil Wayne. Yeah.
Like Chris Brown, he did a lyric saying, "All my bitches got real hair," and which is fucking ridiculous because it's like his mum probably wore a weave, so I don't know, or whoever, like probably wore a weave. And then like with Lil Wayne, like I don't understand how he's like, oh, I'd only go for like light skinned or like, you know, just anyone that's light skinned, because I'm like, that is it literally self-hatred. And again, it's like him being uneducated and he needs to like look in the mirror, because at the end of the day, like how can he be like, oh, there's a difference between having like preference in like what you like and being like, oh no, I wouldn't ever like touch anybody that's dark skin or whatever, because he's dark skin and he looks in the mirror and that's what he's gonna see. So I feel like it is issues with himself, and it's just like such an it just gets so angry because it's so relevant still.
You know, we've had Tyrese saying things like, you know, I've only got light skinned girls because I picked the best bunch, you know, and so that's his understanding of best. So I guess in that sense, there is a definite way that people can echo the sentiments of a lot of racist ideals. And yeah, I would definitely say that's acting white, but I don't think they're aware of that.
A couple folks here. The way we think about color, the closer you are to whiteness and lightness, good. The closer you are to darkness and black, dirty, bad. We already are black. And so we're already labeled as dirty, bad. It's not black people's fault that when I see the light-skinned girl that I think she's better or she got more privilege than me. Because that's what the white people tell me. That's what these stories tell me. That's what television tells me. And so we have to think of it with a different lens of, it's not our fault. This is what they told us. And we have to fight against that and think more on a grounds of, we are black people, we are people.
We're gonna come right here.
Growing up, I didn't have a real good support from my mom. She was really color struck. We're the same color.
And my mom did not love her color. So growing up, I didn't know how to love myself. I used to be the girl that like, I have to buy weave because if I don't, nobody's gonna like me. And now I cut off all my hair because that's something I've always wanted to do. And I was terrified to do it because I was like, people are gonna hate me so much for cutting off my hair. But when I did it, I felt so beautiful and free. Nobody could tell me anything. At that point, I was a beautiful Black woman with short hair, and you can't tell me anything about myself.
Black people aren't the only people who have colorism issues. I think the challenge for the Black community is that we've internalized it and we've made it more vicious than it has to be in today's society. There are many people on Twitter who comment on how dark I am. I'm medium tone.
Right.
I'm too dark for some, I'm too light for others, and for a lot of them, I'm too round. But our opportunity is to decide who we intend to be in the space and how we're going to treat others in that space with us.
Yes.
Because whether we see the prejudice or we see the privilege, there are those who are making decisions about us, and they are imposing those decisions on us when they hire, when they fire, when they send a preschooler to time out, or when they send a teenager to prison. Those choices are being made, so we can't dismiss that it exists, but we can build the protections around ourselves so that we aren't doing it internally.
Do you think it's changing very much?
Yes, I mean, it's absolutely getting better because we talk about it. When you deny a problem, you can't fix the problem. And I think what's helpful for all of us is that we're actually talking about this as an issue and we're talking about solutions.
Ma'am, I'd love to hear from you.
I am light-skinned, but I have never been treated like I was white in my life. I've always been Black. I've never felt any different from anybody else. And when I go to work, when I went to school, I was treated like a Black woman. I was disrespected like a Black woman. So it bothers me when people think because you're light-skinned, you're treated differently. I have never had that advantage in my life.
Of pop culture, darker-skinned women have frequently gotten the short end of the success stick. Just consider the most successful Black female singers in the last decade. You can probably come up with dozens of names, including Alicia Keys, Ciara, Mariah Carey, Jhené Aiko, and of course, Beyonce. But can you name even 5 deeply melanated female pop stars? I mean, we did have Brandy as Cinderella, but that was 20 years ago. Wait, was it? From Lena Horne, the first Black actress to sign a major studio deal, to Halle Berry, the first Black actress to win a Best Actress Academy Award, lighter-skinned and often mixed-race women have usually broken through society's biggest barriers first. Now, this isn't to say they weren't hardworking or didn't deserve it, but Black people with lighter skin, straighter hair, and more Eurocentric features have always been more likely to be given the paltry number of opportunities to access white spaces and institutions. This is the reality, but why? Now, before we answer that, we gotta say, who's considered dark-skinned or light-skinned is all relative and definitely varies from culture to culture. But for our purposes, when we say light-skinned, think Nicki Minaj, Zoe Kravitz, Rihanna, Zendaya. And when we say dark-skinned, think Viola Davis, Kelly Rowland, and Lupita. The roots of this light versus dark inequality stem all the way back to the days of slavery, when lighter-skinned slaves, often the mixed children of white slave owners, aka the product of rape, aka your not slick Thomas Jefferson, were given domestic work as opposed to the physical labor of darker slaves, thus landing higher on the skin tone hierarchy because of their proximity to whiteness. This separation was enacted based on the slave traders' false beliefs that darker-skinned people were better suited for hard labor, whereas lighter-skinned Blacks were thought to be better suited for intelligent and domestic tasks. Don't get it twisted though, whether in the house or in the field, they were still enslaved, so it was definitely not a choice, no matter what your weird cousin on Facebook says. Out of the house slave versus field slave mentality came white supremacist stereotypes that framed light-skinned people as the good Blacks and darker-skinned people as lazy, unintelligent, unattractive, undesirable, criminal, aggressive, and just all around bad. Now, while the skin tone hierarchy known as colorism is a byproduct of white supremacy, it's not just a white thing. Stereotypical figures like the angry Black woman and sassy Black friend are, unfortunately, also present in Black-made media. In the recent past, there have been numerous examples of Black people in the media perpetuating the idea that lighter is better. The popular 90s sitcom Martin, as brilliant as it was, is a shining example of this problem. Light-skinned Gina was positioned as attractive, intelligent, and funny, versus her dark-skinned friend Pam, who, despite being bangin', was often coded as unattractive and the butt of many of Martin's jokes. And what we will not do is stand for anyone coming for sitcom legend Tashina Arnold. And there's been even more recent instances of this. Remember that time Kanye West held a Yeezy casting asking for multiracial women only? Or when the casting call for the movie Straight Outta Compton described A girls as the hottest of the hottest with real hair, and D girls as, and I quote, African American girls, poor, not in good shape, medium to dark skin tone. Yikes, it be your own people. Or remember when rapper Kodak Black, himself a dark-skinned black man, said that he doesn't date women who share his complexion because they're too gutter? Come on now, Kodak, black is in your name. These examples point to the fact that many black people, even those with the power to create change within their own industries, sometimes internalize the very colorist stereotypes that have kept them down. Now, the media doesn't necessarily cause colorism, but it reinforces it in ways that have real-world implications. Colorism has much wider ramifications than just who we see on our movie screens or on the cover of magazines. So prepare your hot Cheetos and Tums, because this gets even sadder. A 2011 study conducted in North Carolina found out that of the over 12,000 African American women prisoners, light-skinned women were sentenced to 12% less prison time than darker ones. Or consider the fact that according to a Harvard University study, dark-skinned blacks in the United States have lower socioeconomic status, more punitive relationships with the criminal justice system, diminished prestige, and less likelihood of holding elective office compared with their lighter counterparts. There have even been black dating apps with filters for skin tone. In other words, by privileging lighter skin, straighter hair, and more Eurocentric features, the media creates an environment that affects dark-skinned people on a social, political, and personal level. And yes, the only Aunt Viv I recognize is the original dark-skinned Aunt Viv.
Now, they're actually not the black people that white people would say, oh, you're actually
Yeah, no,
white.
but I guess that also there's a difference between a colonized mind. So, for example, if you would grow up only seeing women on the front, like the most attractive women being white all the time on the front of the covers, you know, or in the videos and this, then I'm not taking the blame away from those rappers because they are accountable and it's trash as well. But that's come from somewhere, and that's come from white supremacy. You know, because we have to
be careful here. We can't attach acting white to white supremacy, because in my opinion, they're two different things, especially when we're talking culturally. In culture, when we talk acting white, we're not saying, oh, you're on some white supremacy shit. That's not what we mean. We mean, like, I mean, to a degree, perhaps, but it's more, in this instance, it's more kind of like, it's basically saying that, it's almost like saying that biologically, your skin color determines how you behave, which is fucking incorrect and scientifically just not factual, right? So we need to get away from that being some sort of, I don't know.
We do live in a world where there is a system in place that actually makes sure that due to your skin color, you put in an environment that does alter the way that you behave.
I think, you know, it's important as well that people who are saying things, black people who are saying things like you're acting white, they have to recognize the ingrained racism within that statement. You know, that means that you have a silent admission that whiteness is correct, you know, and everything else is secondary to that. And that is what you're saying each time that you liken a positive trait to whiteness, you are saying that is the standard by which we need to measure ourselves.
Exactly.
So it's a bit like just self-hatred. I feel like there's a lot of self-hatred. And obviously that brings on the point that you were making, and also like basically the foundation of where we live our lives, the society that we've become accustomed to is built by obviously the Western world. Like that's just the reality. We won't get into history, but I think it was 1492, that's when shit went crazy. So yeah, and we have to think about like it's education is key, like when it comes to everything. Like, okay, so when it comes to self-hatred, that is only because we haven't been exposed. For example, a main example is this: I used to straighten my hair when I was younger. I considered that as self-hatred. That's why I was like, no, I'm going clean, I'm just having my hair curly, to learn how to love like my hair for what it is, learn how to look after your hair. A lot of people aren't taught, especially if you're coming from biracial families. Now, who is teaching who how to do what? So my father does my hair, do you know what I'm saying? It's so like, God bless my mother for trying. She tried a little bit of coconut oil and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, you know, she wasn't great at it. And what I'm saying is like, if you're not taught how to love yourself and how to just appreciate the gifts that you've been given, like
and just that just being greatness.
Exactly.
First of all, coming from a biracial family myself, I find it a very sticky point to say acting white, because I can act white, I can act black. Too white for the white kids, or too white for the black kids, too black for the white kids. It's that kind of scenario. So I feel identity, knowing who you are, associate yourself with something that you feel comfortable with. Fuck black or white. Like, it's real. I understand there's a massive separation here, but the longer you focus on that, the longer it will continue. So liberate yourself.
Black girls gave me the most problems. It wasn't a lot from white girls.
When my mom and dad would go to the store, they would come back to his car and a lady would write on a sheet of paper, "You cracker lover," or something like that, and identify myself as being African American. But at the beginning, when I was younger, I used to erase everything and put mixed, and I used to get in trouble by my teachers. And they would always say, "Why are you putting mixed on there? You're either, black, or you're black, basically." And so I would have to say, back then I would say mixed, but now I understand that I kind of have to just say African American because that's what society breaks it down to.
Black, to be honest, because that's the side that I grew up with, so.
Was you raised in a black neighborhood, black culture?
Yes, I was. I was born in California, but I grew up in New York. So I was raised on my father's side of the family, and my father is Jamaican and Spanish.
Did you go to black schools?
Yes, I did. I went to PS7, PS132 in Queens, and then when I moved to Georgia, I did go to a predominantly white school in middle school, and then I moved to Atlanta and ended up at predominantly black.
I identify myself with black and white because my parents, my mom is mixed, half and half, she's black and white. My grandparents, that's why.
I identify myself as black because my father is black.
Were you raised with your father?
No, I was raised with my mom.
And your mom is white?
Yes.
So why would you identify yourself with black just because your dad's black if you was raised with your mom?
Because my mom told me that I should always identify myself as what my father is.
I grew up around not my Mexican side of my family because my mom moved to Columbus and she met her ex-husband and he was predominantly, his family was black. So with him being in the household and my Mexican side of the family being in El Paso, Texas, I didn't grow up around them. I grew up around a black household.
Basically, I'm multiracial, so I don't just choose one race. I just say I'm mixed, or I would mark 3 things on whatever the choices were, or I just say other.
There's no black people in our community.
Right. I mean, I think that and we're 3 years apart, so the only time we were in school together was elementary school. When he was in middle school, right when he was going out, I was coming in. And I almost think that worked better for me because he kind of was able to pave the way a little bit. But I mean, to count on one hand how many black kids were at our school that we went to, you might say 4 and 3 of those are mixed. So nobody was just full-blooded black that we grew up with. So I mean, you really didn't have a choice but to gravitate toward, for me, it was the white girls. I wanted to be more like the white girls. I wasn't ever built like them. I wasn't skinny like them. I didn't have, the Abercrombie and Fitch that they were wearing. I couldn't dress like them. We didn't have the means for that.
Black, of course, because personally, I don't know any Asian people because I never had the opportunity to meet that other grandparent who was Asian, and my mother never had the opportunity to meet her father as well, so she knows he's Asian, of course, but she doesn't know anything else about him.
I identify myself as being black the most. Why? For the simple fact, I don't know, I guess being around my white family so much, I feel like
I don't have as much of a touch with my black side of the family. And later on in my adult years, I have been more in touch with them than I have with my white side of the family.
Sorry, not to negate what you said, but I'm saying we've got to be careful. Look, we have to be careful about what we say because we're in grounds where it's like you have to be. I guess you have to have the tools to be able to discern nuanced conversations. Otherwise, we're in tricky grounds. And I'm saying, yes, blackness is greatness, but it can also be said in the same breath that brownness is greatness and fucking whiteness is greatness. So we have to kind of.
But it's only been said that whiteness is greatness.
No, but this is it has. In terms of history, politically, whiteness has been the greater power in terms of spreading their ideals across the world. That's not the same concept of black is great, and then it's not the same concept of white is great. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you.
Maybe wrong choice of what?
Yeah, it's more just that it's a good. Well, we should say equal. It's equal. You're right. You're right to correct me there.
You've got to be careful about saying certain shit, even though it sounds empowering.
Look, if you look at Solange, album, and Tina Knowles, I think one of the interludes on it was her saying that it's like, for example, BET Awards, or Black Girl Magic or something like that. When there's been such an incredible lack of that message, sometimes you do need to go ham. You do need to be like, you know what? It's greatness, not just anything. Because actually there are decades, centuries to be undone. And do you know what? White people take the L. If it makes you I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. If it makes you uncomfortable hearing blackness is greatness.
But you've got to be careful about saying white people, because it's not white people.
It's whiteness.
It's specific.
It's not white people. It's the concept of whiteness. Western is a lot of different coloured people as well. Western is Black British people. Western is.
It's important to call it whiteness because it is a white ideology.
But then,
sorry, go on.
Do you know how you guys were on about it, saying, you can't say black is greatness, but that's basically the all lives matter argument. Basically, it's just people. It's just I don't want to say white because it's not all white people, but it's just the certain people they're racist. People that say that. The people that are all lives matter that's ridiculous because literally white is seen as the ordinary. Anything else is the other. So that's why it annoys me. Acting white to me is such a relevant topic because I grew up in a predominantly white area, and then what I found really interesting, what they discussed about was the fact that the only people that are why are you acting white would be black people, and it's kind of annoying because I'm just why it just irritates me. Why acting white is if you're educated or well spoken, that's classed as acting white. It just gets me so it gets me so angry because I'm just why is saying slang words or being a bit saying stuff like bear, why is that considered acting black? Obviously it comes from the rappers and what they're portraying. It's one topic that, oh my god, it gets me so frustrated to have to control myself and calm myself down. White is seen as the ordinary, everything's everything's white, the ordinary is white, anything else is different, that's all the different races. So it just irritates me that why can't a black person be well spoken? Why does it have to be, you're acting white? Just because you're black or mixed race doesn't mean you have to start using words like bear and blood in every single sentence. So it just that super irritates me. So I think it was really relevant, and what everyone said was so true because it is about, I feel the fact is if you say to someone, you're acting white or you're acting black, you're uneducated. Yeah.
Yo, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Wolf Victor. We out here straight thugging, not shmoney. Y'all, I recently found out that I'm black.
You're black?
Yeah, dog. Got an email to a free trial to Ancestry.com. Found out I'm African American, y'all.
You don't look it.
It's because I'm whitewashed, G. I may not look it, but I feel it, y'all. And whenever I see myself in the mirror, I know who exactly I am, alright? As a black gentleman, y'all.
Known Wolf Victor for a little while now. And last week he was on Ancestry.com and got 100% black on his DNA test. Now he thinks he's black.
Is he black?
What? F no, he's white like Wonder Bread. Be honest with you, kind of go along with it because we're pretty sure he's special needs.
Check this out, dog. This is a picture of my great grandpa. Y'all, if you could compare the facial features on me and him, you know, can't even tell a difference, dog. Not tell me I ain't black, y'all. Aight, y'all. We balling out, dog. I'm about to show you my skills, y'all. Yeah, you going down, dog. What the fuck, G? What the fuck?
So why do you talk like that?
What y'all mean, G?
Where did you get that accent?
That's just me, man. Talk like this ever since I can remember, y'all. You know what I mean? Raised in Zone 6, y'all straight out of the hood, G. Aight, ma. Me and the boys are off. Go do some gang shit.
Okay, Gubs, are you gonna be home for dinner? I'm making tuna casserole.
Dana be, we be here when we be.
Be safe and don't forget to bring your puffer with you.
Don't tell me what to do.
Ever since Victor got the news that he's black, he's totally changed.
Yo, ma, we got no food. I can't eat this white people.
I don't understand what skirt, gang is. He used to be an A student. Now I can't understand anything he's saying. But I'm there for him, it doesn't matter. He's my black boy.
Shut dog, yeah. Got these face tats, gang shit. Whoop, 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 skirt. Whoop, whoop. Gang shit. Yeah, dog. Yeah, dog.
Yes, Victor.
Yeah, you guys wanna go for some KFC?
Chicken is a good choice.
Sweet, y'all. Yo, my n***s. What, y'all?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What? My n***s. What the f***? Yo, dog! Yo, G! Yo, you're coming back, right?
Yes, my birthday is March 7th, but July 19th was the day I found out I was black. Like, my whole entire life, my mom kept telling me, you're white. I never believed her because I knew I was black, but July 19th, I did some history. I went on Ancestry.com, and I found out I'm 25% black, and this whole time I knew it. I knew I was a black girl. So I just consider that to be my birthday because it's just a very exciting holiday for me. So I thought I'd celebrate. I didn't know how to celebrate, but to say it was my birthday. So that's just to clear up everything for y'all. Thank you for understanding that I am a black girl.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to say, or you shouldn't say black is great. That's not going to
No, I know you're not.
But I'm just saying people have to be careful when they're chanting certain things.
Need a backbone. Like, just because blackness is greatness doesn't negate that whiteness could be greatness. Doesn't discount the fact that Indian can be greatness.
Just because me and you've had this conversation before as well, and I think where we have to be careful in that the conversation about not catering to the feelings of white people, which I understand on a mass level. I think the reason we're at this point that we're at the moment with such a disparity between the white working class and everybody else is that a lot of these white working class people don't understand this concept of privilege. If you were to go to a Welsh mining town where Thatcher has fucking absolutely destroyed their industry, these white people living in these towns, they don't have they don't see black people. They don't have, so to explain to them racial privilege is a completely foreign concept because they're all poor and they don't actually have a reference point of racial privilege because they don't see any other ways. I've had it before where I don't get told by black people that, oh, you talk black or you act black. I get told by other white people, and I can always read between the lines. I can always understand that what they're actually saying is the negative parts about my personality, or not even about my personality, but the negative and undesirable aspects that I have about myself that actually aren't rooted in anything other than not having a great education, growing up in a working class community, etc., etc. Those are the things that they associate with, oh, you're acting black or you're talking black. So it's always clear what the motive is. So when they see a Londoner, whether black, white, female, male, saying check your privilege to them, for them it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that we need to be careful to guard the feelings of white people. I think especially white people like us who live in London, we're around mixed groups of people. I think any white person who has it. But when you're dealing with people who are so far removed from it's impossible to have a blanket statement because they don't understand.
No,
and I'm not saying it's black people's responsibility to try and educate them. It's actually our responsibility as white people who are a little more, and I don't want to use the word socially enlightened because it's quite patronizing, but essentially maybe more privileged in our awareness. It's our responsibility to try and, not to belittle them and be like, they're fucking chavs, they're idiots, they're fucking, do you see what I'm saying? And I think that statement towards white people of just, not catering to, I think it's a tricky.
The market has become basically saturated. It's predominantly white. So I basically feel like the key is education. Literally, without sounding like but genuinely.
You see, when you say the key is education, let's get practical about this.
Tell me.
How do we implement? Because me, it's like.
My next thing was going to be the fact that I feel, okay, look at us here, look at the mix. This makes me very happy. I feel like we should have an Asian and maybe a little bit of but I'm really happy with the mix. And I feel like basically, we are the key. We are the future.
Street starts like this.
Exactly. We are the seeds. We now are going to flower, and we need to flower into the industry and change the saturation, basically. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Only think about the people that are in the industry at the moment. Think about how much of an impact they're able to make, and obviously the more the merrier. So,
can I quickly say something here?
Of course.
The concept of acting white and acting black is quite difficult for me personally, because I've got a white mum. Me acting white, I'm white. Me acting black, I'm black. I think the general consensus was that black people have a self-hatred in place that means another person of their own skin colour acting white threatens them to an extent that it means that they've got to lash out at that person and call them a coconut, call them an Uncle Tom, call them a bounty, whatever they may say. Obviously, it goes both ways. A lot of black people say white people act black as well, which, as Snips was saying, it sort of it can offend black people more than it would offend white people. If at all, if it would offend white people, some white people would actually see that as a compliment. So I think you just have to be careful. I'm speaking, as I said, I'm half white, half black. I'm speaking for my black half now. We've got to be careful as black people to say an individual is acting black or acting white, because you're very much pigeonholing people into a position where they're not their identity or the way they're acting is just the way they are intrinsically. So you're basically putting a person down for just the way they are. Were we not done? Is that not what happened to us? Were we not literally put down for being black? Or were we not killed for being black? We were under the maddest oppression.
I just want to debunk a couple of things black women seem to say about black men. One of the things I hear a lot, black men are going to the other races. We're not necessarily going to other races. The other races are coming to us. And I'm giving you my opinion from what I've been running into when I see women from other races. They're just more obvious with their attraction to you. And as any man, if a woman is attractive, is showing you some kind of attention, she's like letting you know that it's okay for you to talk to her, any race of man, he's gonna go with that. Something else that I hear about black women not liking black men, they don't make enough, and that's why I don't want to date a black man. I feel you, but the other races, they seem to not care. They seem to care about other things. They care about your looks, they care about your compassion, they care that you're just as kind to them as they are to you. These other races, they're nice. It's not such a challenge. They're not so, I am woman, hear me roar. Arr. It's like, I'm not a lion tamer. You don't have to be a lion tamer. With the other races of women, they want you. Whereas black women, they openly don't want you as a black man unless you're whatever they think a black man should be. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. Black Americans, we're like loved all over the world. Like, think about rap music. American rap plays all over the world. Rap from some other country, it only plays in that country. Like, you'll never hear Chinese rap in Australia. You'll never hear Native American rap outside of the Native American community. But American rap, that plays everywhere. So they love us internationally. And these international women, they're coming after us black men. And it's really hard to say no when a woman is being cordial, she's being feminine, she's actually interested in you, she's interested in your life, she's interested in your culture. Like, what are you all about? I mean, I've heard all of this about you guys, but you don't seem like that. Like, they're open to learning. Black women, that's like they don't even want to learn. It's almost like they know you because of whatever black man that they've known before, and you must be like him. So they just are turned off by you, which is fine. Black men, we're not complaining that you black women don't want us. The irony is black women will say that they want a black man, but then when a black man comes at them, they've got all of these rules and standards. The black man has to excel to that level or beyond that level. Not even he has to be what you want as a black woman. He has to exceed that before you will even deal with him. Another complaint I hear from black women a lot is that black men, they cheat a whole lot. Not all, but some of these black men are cheating because I gotta battle the world. I don't want to come home and battle you. For what? Because I don't know what happened to you in your life. I didn't do that. I wasn't there for that. I ain't even like that. You taking that out on me. What else am I gonna do? See how depressed I look? I'm sad. Some woman sees me and she like, hi, can I help you today? And as a male, you perk right up. Oh, hi, how you doing? I'm doing okay. Maybe he cheated because you were destroying his soul. And this dude don't know what else to do. He depressed. You depressing. Let's say you got a good attitude and this dude, he still is cheating and stuff like that. A lot of these international women, polygamy is a part of the culture. So I know you're with this woman, but she's your wife. She ain't just a girl you sleeping with. And I know you're with me, but I'm your wife. She knows about me. You paying her bills, you paying my bills. You got kids with her, you got kids with everybody knows. No, it's not let's get in a bed and threesome and none of all of that's Pornhub. And the purpose for all of these wives, all of these children, is you're building your corporation. You're building your empire. And these international women, a lot of them, they understand that because they have culture. Their culture is like thousands of years old. American culture is only 200 years old. I mean, that's a long time to us because I can't live 200 years. 200 years is no time in the grand scheme of how long the earth has been around. Is it really? Well, anyway, there's so many more things to
angry black woman.
Crazy.
Why do you say that?
Because they're all crazy, crazy angry black women. I've seen them. Why? Why does that have to be a question?
Probably majority of them are single mothers. Is a recipe for a good angry black woman.
Unapologetic.
Someone who's just like super sassy, raising your voice.
It's just so stupid. Rather than people saying, oh, well, why is this woman so mad? Suppressing their true emotions because you don't want to hear it.
Stereotype. In the media, if you speak out or something like that, or you express your emotions, then you're the angry black woman.
Yeah, someone called me like that.
Do you think that's an easy way to shut someone down?
Well, I don't think so, because they didn't shut me down.
I kind of feel like that word is tossed out anytime that we speak up for ourselves. It's not even just when we're angry. It's whenever we speak in difference to somebody else.
Why you gotta put race on it? It's just an angry woman.
What? Everyone's angry. Everyone's angry. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian.
I don't think it's a stereotype. I think it's a role that's being played because it's real. When I think of an angry black woman, I think of a woman that's been betrayed or hurt.
Typically when someone's angry and they get described as that, that usually means there's some unresolved hurt.
Honestly, just think of the movie, the Tyler Perry movie. Angry black women in movies.
look like that, but most black women aren't angry.
I'm not an angry black woman. I'm goofy. They think we're all ghetto, welfare queens, uneducated, and in real life, we're probably some of the happiest, most positive people you'll ever meet in your life. Get to know us.
Is acting white, because being well read, being well versed in anything, being articulate is not a white trait. Positive characteristics are not linked to any particular race. The fact that we think that being well spoken, dressing yourself, or taking pride in your appearance is white is a product of the ingrained racism that we feel within ourselves. So there is no such thing as acting white. There is no such thing as acting black. Yes, there are influences of black culture and hip-hop culture, but black people don't act in one specific way.
I used to go play football at Broadwater Farm.
Yeah.
This is deep Tottenham. If you know Tottenham, you know Broadwater Farm, innit?
Mm-hmm.
So I used to go play football there, right? My mum used to take me in there. She's the one white person in there. Yeah, straight up, one white person in there. I get told that I'm acting white regardless of whether I am or not, isn't it? Because I'm the only person who's associated with anything white. They might see one white person a week, these people. Do you understand what I'm saying? I see one every day when I wake up. That's what I'm used to, innit? So it's kind of like, for me to act white, I'm not acting white, I'm just being myself. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So
it's more for me, but it's also kind of like how the world views you. Because I find it surprising and I find it pretty nuts that Obama is still called the United States of America's first black president. When in actual fact, he's fucking mixed race.
Yeah.
He just negated his
white mother raised him.
You know what I'm saying?
This is even more inherent of Americans, want to fucking be the world, essentially. He's also called an African American president, but he's not an African American. He's half African, half American. He's not actually African American.
Yeah,
so it doesn't come from
so based on your point, for me, it's how the world views you, and the world views you right now as a black dude. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to judge you on that.
To a police officer, I'm an IC3. That's it.
An IC3 with a beard, you might be a terrorist. You
But when I'm on the tube, people move away from me. Yeah. So now, I sort of very deeply sympathize with the Arabs and the Asians with the really long beards who, they're listening to...
They don't even have to have beards, mate. They don't even have to have beards anymore. They just brown skin.
That's it.
Honestly.
But boy, I deeply sympathize.
Black Muslims, definitely. It's a thing, I think that is an intersection which is incredibly hard.
You're saying that, I'm feeling, okay, so we know how the world twists and turns, and we always have, we always point the finger at somebody. Someone always has to be the lesser. I'm just, I feel the way that things are moving, I don't know, I feel like, unfortunately, the movement culture is going to be, it is already the victim.
Of course.
Of
politicized and, villainized constantly.
In 50 years, will they be having the same conversation, but about,
Are you saying that
about somebody else?
Then the butt's going to be why are you acting brown or something? Is that why you
I'd say. No. Of course, sorry, that completely negate that. I'm saying it's not it's not appropriated.
Black culture is the only culture that is widely appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. And also,
there was never white kids at school that we're told you're acting Asian or trying to be like the Asian.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You never see that with white kids. You don't see it. Even to the point, even with African culture, it's only a recent thing with this generation. When I grew up, it was just Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
White kids only ever wanted to reappropriate Caribbean culture. And in America, Black American culture.
The thing is, it's interesting because you were saying about what defines being white, and for me, someone who is well spoken but also begs black culture loads. I love music, and not only that, I love African family. I love aunties. I love I love church. All of those things. But for me, I'm still told, and this is not but I'm told that I'm acting black. So I think that. I'm someone who.
You know what? I get the opposite. I get told that I'm acting white, which I find bizarre because of my environment. It's almost been I've been me acting black, quote unquote, is almost like a given to people I've known, which is bizarre, but whatever. Is when I do white stuff, I then get this surprise Raw, Snips, what? You eating fish and chips? Well, you going to the pub to watch football? Like, it's like,
The reason why you were saying, like, for me, like, black culture is even problematic within itself is because there's so many, like, subsets to quote-unquote black culture. And when you just call it black culture, it's almost like you, like, reduce it to this one thing in the same sort of way that you reduce acting black to, like, this one thing.
100%, but that's why I said about the church and about, like, because it's not just, like, acting like a thug is black culture. No, there's all these rich things.
But it's almost the kind of thing where it's like, just not taking your time. This is not like directed to you, by the way. It's just
Dude, direct.
No, but it's not.
Tweet me, fam.
If it was, it would be that. But it's just even like because I'm saying even calling it black culture is reducing it to something that's not in the same way. Saying someone's acting black or white is reducing to something that's not as well. So I'm saying we kind of have to, I guess, spend more time maybe trying to really understand about other people and other people's cultures, because realistically it's like
I don't consider black culture is solely what gets pushed as youth culture.
But they're talking about hip-hop culture essentially. That is what you mean when you say you're acting black. You're talking about acting like you're a hip-hop
If I played the saxophone and went to Ronnie Scott's every Sunday, would anyone tell me I'm practicing black culture? Because that's, if anything, that's more black culture than listening to grime music.
Exactly.
You know? But no one associates it because it's not youth black culture.
This is the thing, and that's why I never shy away, because as someone I'm someone who sees a lot. I'm sorry, I don't want to be like a culture vulture, like, but I see a lot of beauty in different cultures. So for me, when I think about Muslim friends of mine, I think about all of the like celebrate, like, you know, like for me, that's what comes naturally. I know that's not always the way, but so for me, when I think about black culture, I'm thinking about, like, because there's two sides. First of all, there's two very different sides to that. You know, there's Jollof and there's, like, you know, like it's a massive thing. People negate that.
That's another thing. There's so much prejudice within the black culture to each other that it's crazy. Like if you're a Caribbean person and you're seen dressed up in African attire, you also get, you know, caned for it.
I know Caribbean families would say they'd rather their child marry a white man than
this is what's mad. It's like unreal. I don't understand.
But do you know about that? Like, do you know what I find interesting? Because obviously I grew up in a predominantly like white area. Like I'd always had the black people that told me, "Oh, why acting white? Why are you doing that? Why are you straightening your hair?" And then, do you know what you were saying about? Like I understand. Like it's different because I know I like with my black family. Like I know South, they'll be sometimes like, "Oh, why don't you find a black boy? Why do you go
Where are they
white?"
from? Your black side?
Like, well, they're from like the mix from Trinidad and Grenada. But the thing is, you have to like, I do like obviously I don't agree with what they say, but I understand where they're coming from, because obviously I can see how they'll be like, they don't want me to go for a white boy because maybe like with his family they might see me as less. So I understand why they say that, and they've got a valid point for saying that, but I don't think it's right.
This is the thing, black folks are still dealing with the remnants of slavery, and there's still this thing, because we're still like marginalised in society, and we've still got a fucking battle to fight to somewhat be considered equal.
It's fairly understandable.
So it's also this kind of thing where it's like, because we still feel like we've got a battle to face in terms of being considered equal amongst other races, anything that kind of seems in the eyes of black culture that you're going against the team is kind of like frowned upon. So if it looks like you're like, I guess, adopting characteristics that looks like it's from the other side, you're going to be deemed a traitor. So I think that's inherently where that comes from as well. But again, it's all for me underlying remnants of slavery, man.
I had a conversation with my girl, and we were talking about the concept of class and race, and I was like, I'm proud to be working class. And the thing is, with working class people, my dad now probably earns in a bracket where he's probably middle class financially. My dad grew up working class. He brought me up working class. When I was young, he didn't have that money. The money he has now. So I can't lose that, and he can't lose that, because it's a part of your identity as a working class person. Now, I was having this conversation with my girl, and she was like, "You couldn't tell my family that they're working class." Her family are from Jamaica, they came in the 60s. Okay. It's like, you couldn't tell my family that they're working class. They take that as an insult. And we were talking about it, and it occurred to me that the issue with class isn't as apparent with black people, because black people class wasn't used as a way to demonize black people. Being black was enough. Being black was enough. So you're black. Don't matter what class you are, you're black, so you're therefore not here with us. So for poor white people, the title of being working class was so stamped into us as a way to say you are lesser than the establishment that if a black person then essentially reappropriates this culture here, for the upper class, it's like, yeah, it's not white because it's not these type of white people. You see what I'm saying?
Interesting what you said though, but do you know why yours is? Do you know why that's even more complicated than what you even just said? Even though what you said is even quite profound. The black folks, the black folks that came from the West Indies in Africa, are the black folks that from their nation are not working class. You know what I'm saying? They're like middle class or upper class.
Not necessarily.
But when they come over here, but most times when they come over here, then they're reduced to being working class again. So they don't want
not necessarily the case with Caribbeans though.
They don't want that title again of being deemed working class because back in their native land they're not working class. So I think that's why over there there's a bit of a mix up.
I don't know if that's not entirally specific to Caribbeans. There was still a lot of working class Caribbean people that came here.
I mean, to a degree, but the majority had a bit of, you know.
Because of this voice, girls think I'm gay, and then every black dude I meet thinks I'm acting white all the time. Acting white, like I auditioned for this voice and I got it. Like, yeah. And hey guys, I got the voice now. Let's go to American Eagle. Whatever, let's go. God, it's hot out here. Who's thirsty? I have Ovaltine. It came with my voice. Who wants Ovaltine? More Ovaltine, please. Acting white. I don't even know what that means. Apparently acting white is me with a clean criminal record, speaking in complete sentences featuring real words at my job. You know what I mean? I act white about 40 hours a week right now with benefits. It's pretty badass. One person's with me, everybody else. Nobody else believes me. They're like, no, you don't have a job. Got a pretty cool life. It's the black Asian thing is pretty cool for the most part. Like there's a couple of problems though, like nobody takes me for face value, you know. Like black people want me to be blacker. Right? Asian people want me to be blacker. It's so weird. Look, they're embarrassed. I don't get it. White people want me to stay away from their daughters, and that's not gonna happen. I've been dating a lot of white girls recently because it's legal in most states now, so I'm trying it out. It's fun. Right? Some black guys will date white chicks just for that fact, you know what I mean? Like it's an achievement, like, hey everybody, look, I got a white girl, I made it. White girl, what? Huh? Oh, I know, she's got 4 toes on 1 foot. Whatever, dog, she's white. Not me. All right? Because unlike most black dudes that date white chicks, I have standards and a weight limit. You know what I mean? So gotta work it out. I enjoy half the audience laughing. Thank you. I don't like the other half acting like they've never been outside with their eyes open. Look around. I don't like every white girl though. Like I'm not into the white girls that are exclusively into black guys. Do you know these chicks? Like I only date black guys. I don't know, I just like black guys better. I'm not even attracted to white guys. I just like black guys. You guys look confused right now. If you've never seen this girl and you really want to see her, just save up some money and take a trip to Dave and Buster's. That's where they hang out. You'll find them by the basketball game trying to get tickets.
Working class because back in their native land they're not working class. So I think that's why over there there's a bit of a mix up.
I don't know if that's not entirely specific to Caribbeans. There was still a lot of working class Caribbean people that came here.
I mean, to a degree, but the majority had a bit of, you know.
During on your point though, talking about obviously the working class, it's funny because this is why I'm talking about education is key. Because seriously, if you look, we actually invited like the West Indies and we needed